This video has some information on chroma keying, as well as some sample footage that you can use if needed. Well, what is chroma keying? It's also called blue screening or green screening. Chroma means color, and key means to remove, like a keyhole. So video looks like a moving image to us, but to the computer it's just a bunch of pixels. So you can say to the computer, I want to take this particular color of green and make it transparent. So take every pixel that's that color green and remove it, get rid of it. And so what will happen is we're left with just an image and the background is removed from it. You can use a number of things as a chroma background. In this particular case, I'm using a piece of craft paper. So just from a craft store, it's just a piece of green paper. It comes in a roll or as a large sheet. You could use a wall if it's a solid color. Even white will work sometimes. Or you could use a cloth, like this is a blue screen here that I use, and it's quite large. The only thing is, if you use cloth, that you want to avoid wrinkles and shadows, because if you notice that this here is a different color blue than this, for instance. So it's more difficult to remove it properly and to have everything removed completely. You also want to take out as much as you can outside of the frame, so you wouldn't want these gray areas over here in the frame if you can help it. If you do need to remove it later, you can use what's called a garbage mat or a mask to crop it out. Here are some tips to get a good key. First, you don't want to wear the same color as the background if you were shooting a subject, a person. So for instance, if you had somebody who's wearing this color green as they are walking in front of a green screen, all of a sudden they would appear to have a floating head because you would be removing the color that they're wearing. Also, the background must be very flat and even. It must be evenly lit. If you have any wrinkles or shadows, it will certainly cause problems for the key. It's also best to match the lighting in the real world in your studio that matches the background that you're going to be using. So for instance, if you are putting in a background of a sunset on the beach, then you would want to have a red glow on your subjects in front of the green screen to match it. Another thing is that you can't move the camera around while you're filming. So if we have our object here and I move this camera around, if the background is in place while we're doing this, the background will not move and the subject will, so it won't look convincing. The only way to do that properly is with tracking and registration points in After Effects. One of the settings that you'll definitely want to adjust on your camera when working with chroma keying is the exposure. If you leave the camera in its auto mode, or auto exposure or auto iris, it may lighten or darken the background as it's trying to change on the subject. And the last thing is that you don't want to get the subject normally too close to the screen itself, because you get a little bit of what's called spill. So this green color may be reflected onto my skin here and give me an outline. Now in this case we're using the iPad and it shouldn't make that much of a difference, but if you're shooting people, normally you want to keep them away from the green screen or blue screen as much as possible to avoid that spill. Blue doesn't look so bad, but people with a green tinge around them usually don't look so good. So here we have our green screen, and I'm going to add the object into the scene.